She sat alone in the jazz bar at 3 a.m. Then he whispered, "Let us pretend we're soulmates." The jazz bar lurked in the shadow of the city, almost like a secret, the kind where whispers wrapped around smoke rings and satin sheets swayed to the sultry notes of the saxophone. At 3 a.m., it pulsed with a quiet energy, where time blurred. Shadows danced on the walls, flickering like forgotten memories. But in the corner booth, she sat isolated, her fingers tapping an uncertain rhythm against the glass. Every glance at the door made her heart leap. Who was she waiting for? Or was she just seeking escape in the rhythm of the night? Her name was Clara. Elegance wrapped her like the dark fabric of her dress, yet her eyes held a storm of emotions. Frustration? Desperation? Or maybe just longing? The bartender, a stout man with a graying mustache, shot her a sympathetic glance. "You all right, miss?" he grunted, his voice barely cutting through the melodic chaos. Clara only nodded, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her lips. Then he appeared. The shadows seemed to mold him into existence, cloaked in mystery as he approached her table. He wore a black leather jacket that glistened under the dim lights, and his dark eyes sparkled like he held 1,000 secrets. A cool breeze brushed past as he slid into the booth without invitation. "Let us pretend we're soulmates," he whispered, the words heavy with something she couldn't quite place. Temptation? Danger? Her heart raced. The air thickened with tension. This wasn't a movie, this wasn't supposed to happen. But the thrill electrified her veins, pulling her into his orbit. "What do you mean?" she breathed, every part of her eager to leap into this reckless fantasy. The dim ambience seemed to condense around them, leaving the rest of the bar in a blur. He smirked, leaning closer, and she felt a whisper of danger. Or was it magic? The jazz switched to a haunting melody, and it felt like the walls themselves leaned in, straining to catch their words. Her mind buzzed. Was this a game? A trap? Muffled conversations floated around them, full of laughter and life, yet Clara and this stranger cocooned themselves in a bubble of inexplicable tension. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." The moment hung heavy between them, taut as the strings of the bass. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, an unexpected crash rang from the bar, shattering their moment. Clara jumped, looking to see the bartender collapse as something slipped from his grasp, a crumpled note that fell to the floor, stained slightly crimson. Instinctively, she sensed more than just a dropped drink. The stranger's expression shifted, a flicker of alarm darting across his handsome face. "Stay close," he urged, his voice low and urgent. Clara's gut twisted. Who was this man, and what had she just walked into? She felt the air thicken, the weight of secrets heavy upon them. Was this night destined to unravel into chaos? Or was it all just the start of something unexpected? Clara's heart raced as the bartender crumpled to the floor, his face twisting in pain. She glanced at the stranger, whose eyes glittered with urgency. "What just happened?" she stammered, her voice a mere whisper pulled tight with fear. "I don't know," he replied, but that was a lie. She could see the truth swimming in the depths of his gaze, a torment she couldn't decipher. The bar had fallen into chaotic silence, murmurs of unease ricocheting off the smoke-stained walls. A few patrons dared to lean forward, straining to catch a glimpse of their fallen protector. As the bartender lay motionless, a woman rushed from the back, her face pale and pinched. Clara's stomach tightened as she recognized her, the waitress who had been too cheerful, too attentive. "Call an ambulance," the stranger shouted, shaking off his confusion. Before Clara could comprehend, he stood up, his leather jacket gleaming ominously in the low light. "Stay here," he ordered, urgency threading through every syllable as he dashed toward the commotion. Clara hesitated but followed, driven by an inexplicable connection, fueled by a desperate need to understand what lay beneath the surface of this unfolding nightmare. A knot of people surrounded the bartender, who lay still, a patch of dark spreading under him. Clara could feel the wave of panic rising in the bar, the low murmurs escalating to frantic whispers. What happened? She pressed, as she caught up to the growing circle. He fell, a voice broke through, trembling. It belonged to a man with wide eyes, his disbelief apparent. I didn't see it coming. Her thoughts fractured as the shock settled around her like frost. A sound, a creak. And she turned just in time to see the stranger slip behind the bar, reaching for the crumpled note that had fallen. Clara's breath caught in her throat. What was so important about that note? She felt a tug deep inside her, something primal urging her to stay. The bartender groaned softly, a flicker of life, but it was the sudden roar of chaos that sent her pulse racing. Someone shouted from the other end of the bar, "Get out! Everyone! Now!" Clara's instincts kicked in. She grabbed the stranger's arm, pulling him back from the clamor. "We need to get out of here." A flash of anger crossed his face, but it melted into a cool determination. Not yet. We can't just leave him. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper as he glanced around. We need to find out what's really going on. What do you mean? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his jacket pocket, revealing a small silver object, a compact mirror. Clara blinked as he flicked it open, revealing not only a reflection of themselves but something more. Between the cracks of the mirror, she saw glimmers faint and flickering like fireflies in twilight. It's a locator, he murmured, eyes focused intently on the shimmering surface. It helps find what's lost, or who's behind this. The bartender moaned again, cutting through their connection. Clara's heart sank. The weight of the moment pressed on her, threatening to swallow her whole. But now she felt a choice sparking in her chest. Should she investigate, risk everything for the truth? Or should she run, escape this chaos while she still could? Just when she thought she had made up her mind, the bar door burst open, letting in a blast of cold air and a stranger cloaked in darkness. Anyone see something suspicious? Clara's breath hitched. What had she just stepped into? The stranger beside her stiffened, his eyes narrowing. We don't have much time. Despite the confusion swirling around her, one thought gripped Clara fiercely. This night was just beginning, and the thrill of danger wrapped around her heart like a vice. What secrets lay ahead? As they found themselves facing the newcomer, she couldn't shake the chilling feeling that the game was only starting and she was about to lose herself in it completely. The newcomer stepped into the dim bar, shadows clinging to his features like a second skin. The chaos inside transformed into a taut silence almost instantly, like a string pulled too tightly, ready to snap. Clara glanced at the stranger beside her, his jaw was set, determination radiating from him like heat from a fire. What now? She whispered, panic tightening her throat as she scanned the room, searching for an escape route. The newcomer surveyed the crowd, his eyes piercing through the haze of confusion. His deep voice cut through the silence. I'm looking for a lost item. Anyone seen a silver compact mirror? The words seemed ominous, sent out like a hook into murky waters. Clara's heart thumped hard against her ribs. The stranger next to her stiffened, his fingers curling around the edges of the mirror in his pocket. You won't find it here, he said, his voice low, almost menacing. Are you sure about that? The newcomer replied, his lips curling into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He took a step closer, body language radiating a predator's intent. People here tend to hold on to things for reasons, don't they? Clara's breath quickened. She felt the pulse of desperation in the air. Leaving the bar felt impossible, like trying to run through quicksand. We need to move, she urged the stranger, her voice trembling. Not yet, he insisted, anchoring her in place. Listen. From the corner of her eye, Clara noticed the bartender stirring slightly, his face now a shade of sickly white. But the newcomer's presence dominated her attention, wrapping around her as he turned, eyes darting toward the bartender's direction. What's happening on this side of the bar? A woman in the crowd stumbled backward, her eyes wide. He just collapsed. It was like he was poisoned or something. That word swept through the room, a wave of fear crashing over them all. Clara felt a shudder wash over her, unease curling around her like a fog. Was this all connected somehow? She looked at the stranger beside her, desperate for answers, for clarity amidst the chaos. Suddenly, the vein of calm that had wrapped around the stranger began to fray. "We need to find that note," he said urgently. "Whatever was in that mirror is important. It leads to answers about the bartender, about everything. But we have to be careful." Leaving her trembling hands clenched at her sides, Clara took a breath, her thoughts spinning. Every instinct screamed at her to flee, but curiosity, wild and insatiable, pulled her deeper into the unraveling mystery. "What do you think is happening?" "I think we're all in danger," he replied, his voice steady but tinged with urgency. "Someone's watching." A shadow shifted near the entrance, and Clara's chest tightened. The dark figure of the newcomer loomed larger, his gaze fixed on the stranger beside her. "You look far too familiar with what is going on here. What are you hiding?" He stepped forward, intensity igniting like a wild flame. Clara could taste the tension crackling in the air, the sensation of breaths held tightly. Questions flared in her mind, but the only thing that blazed brighter was the realization that she stood at a cliff's edge. One more step and she could plunge into darkness. Just then, the bartender let out a low groan, the pitiful sound cutting through the standoff. Clara felt a rush of panic. Should they help him or confront the pressing threat that loomed over them all? "Get him!" The dark stranger barked, eyes narrowing like blades. Clara's hand slipped into the stranger's, her heart racing faster than her mind could process. "We have to do something now." "We're doing something," he hissed back. "Trust me." As they moved toward the bartender, leaving the threat behind them, Clara realized her instincts couldn't lead her astray, not when the stakes were life and death. But that lingering question clawed at her. Who was the newcomer, and what secrets did he want to claim? The answers felt perilously close and just out of reach. The darkness deepened around them as they crouched near the bartender, but a flicker of light shone somewhere ahead. And somewhere within that glare, Clara sensed everything might change in an instant. What awaited them in the abyss? The bartender's body convulsed, drawing Clara's attention back to the crisis. She knelt beside him, heart racing. His face was ashen, lips tinted with a ghastly shade. She gripped his wrist, searching for a pulse, but panic twisted her stomach. "Is he breathing?" she asked, glancing up at the stranger beside her. "Barely," he replied, scanning the room as his gaze darted like a hawk's. "We need to find something to help him." Before they could respond, the newcomer's voice sliced through the air again. "You two look cozy. Not much time left for games." He stepped closer, legs planted firmly, the chilling menace in his eyes unmistakable. Clara's grip on the bartender tightened, her instincts told her to shield him, to protect him from this looming threat. "Get out now. He needs a doctor." Clara shouted, desperation fueling her words. But she could feel the weight of fear holding everyone captive. The crowd was still, processes stunted by the revelation of danger. "Let us not make a scene," the newcomer said, a sinister calmness washing over his tone. "I promise, the secret you are hiding in your pocket isn't worth his life." Clara's breath quickened. She shot a pleading gaze at the stranger next to her. "What is he talking about? What do you have?" But Clara could already see the conflict etching lines across the stranger's face. "Just focus on helping the bartender," he murmured, leaning closer, urgency threading into every word. "Stay low." Silently, she nodded, though her stomach churned with uncertainty. She tore her gaze away from the looming threat and focused on the bartender. "Stay with me," she whispered, willing her voice to be steady. "Help is coming. Just hold on." But the bartender's eyes fluttered. Tears pooled in them, and his eyelids drooped dangerously. "Clara," he gasped, voice barely above a whisper. "Don't talk. Just breathe." she urged, fighting against hopelessness swirling in her chest. The bartender's struggle pressed against her heart like a vice. Suddenly, the stranger beside her froze, second nature taking over. "Get ready," he said, tension vibrating in his words. "On my count." Clara didn't ask questions. They both glanced toward the newcomer, who was now surveying the crowd again, enjoying the show. When he turned back, it was too late. 3, 2, 1. Without waiting for the countdown to finish, the stranger lunged, weaving through the throng, his hand reaching for the newcomer. Clara felt a rush of fear as she leapt up, scrambling to grab at the bartender's side in hopes of keeping him from slipping away altogether. "Stop or I swear to God!" The dark figure shouted, voice booming through the bar as it echoed against the walls, thick with tension and fear. Every head in the room turned, eyes wide with disbelief. Clara had no time to process the sudden shift. A split-second decision ignited. The stranger was risking everything, but she had to protect them both. Just as the shadow of the newcomer lunged toward them, Clara's hand found the mirror in her pocket. It felt heavy with secrets, with complications she didn't yet understand. Did it hold the key to escaping the spiraling chaos? Was it more than just an object? "Clara!" The stranger's voice rang out, breaking through the looming dread, pulling her back into focus. Before she knew it, she swung the silver mirror toward the newcomer, catching his gaze in its reflective surface. For a brief moment, time stopped. The cafe fell silent. Those around were transfixed upon the mirror, curiosity mingling with the tension that infiltrated the air. Then she understood the mirror wasn't merely a mirror, it was a vessel for truths waiting to unfold. "Look!" she shouted, eyes wide. But the reflection revealed no answers. Instead, it revealed danger lurking behind, shadows whispering their secrets to Clara. The newcomer's eyes widened, a flicker of realization there that sent a chill running down her spine. What had she unearthed? In that suspended moment, she felt the ground shift beneath her. Everything was on the brink of breaking. The hotel room they had left behind, the sinister dance of darkness, all of it was unraveling now. As the tension exploded, Clara stood at the intersection of choices, the fate of the bartender hanging in the balance, and the chilling question bombarding her mind. Would she unlock the peace or set off a chain of events that would seal their doom? With every heartbeat echoing the stakes, she asked herself, could the mirror reveal the one truth she desperately needed? But before she could find an answer, the light dimmed further, shadows enveloping them anew. What would her next move be? The bar was spinning into chaos. Clara's heart raced as the silver mirror reflected a macabre tableau of fear and uncertainty. The threat loomed closer, yet the weight of the moment pressed tight against her chest. "Clara!" The stranger's voice had urgency, cutting through the haze. "We need to move." But the mirror clutched at her attention, the sinister pull of the newcomer's glare freezing her in place. What did the reflection mean? There were whispers of danger that seemed to flicker in and out of clarity, shadows that knew more than she did. Now! He grabbed her arm, and the sudden jolt startled her into action. With a quick glance at the bartender, she surged forward, adrenaline coursing through her veins, abandoning reason for instinct. They slipped through the crowd, bodies jostling against them, each face a mask of shock and disbelief. Clara could feel the newcomer's presence behind them, a predator stalking its prey. There was no mistaking the malice in his eyes. "Where do we go?" she gasped, frantically searching for an escape route as they darted toward the back door. "There's a service alley." His voice was clipped. "But we have to be quick." The door creaked open, revealing a narrow alleyway painted in darkness, the city's pulse vibrating just beyond. Clara hesitated, pain clawing at her insides. The bartender. She had left him behind. "Clara, we don't have time." He pulled her, urgency infusing his own fear, and she stumbled forward, torn between loyalty and survival. A shriek from the bar echoed as the newcomer followed through the crowd, eyes wild, searching. Anger radiated off him like heat from a flame, and she could almost feel the darkness rolling in. As they turned into the alley, the chill of the night wrapped around them. Shadows danced along the brick walls, mocking their flight. "Wait!" she exclaimed, drawing to a halt. We can't just leave him. He's gone. If we don't escape, we'll follow him soon. The words landed heavy, twisting her insides. Was she willing to sacrifice everything for someone she barely knew? But then again, wasn't he that the essence of humanity? She fought the lump in her throat, longing to return, yet knowing she was tangled in a web of survival. The stranger's eyes searched hers, desperately guiding her thoughts. Clara, the bartender is a pawn in this. You're the real target. You have that mirror, and he knows it. What do you mean? She shook her head, wrenching away from her regrets. It's just a mirror. No, it's not. When you showed him, it triggered something. We don't know what he can do to control it, or even to you. He glanced back toward the bar, scouring the darkness. We need to find a safe place. You need to understand the power you hold. Clara swallowed hard, the weight of his words crashing against her faith in the ordinary. The mirror a mere object? Or was it a key, a point of manipulation waiting to be unlocked? Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated down the alley, and the stranger stiffened. His expression shifted, determination twisting into dread, as he turned back toward her. They're coming. We have to keep moving. But as they moved deeper into the alley, shadows twisted unnaturally ahead of them, curling like smoke off a flame. Clara stopped short, a figure materialized from the darkness, his features obscured, yet somehow familiar. It's time to reveal the truth, Clara, the figure rasped, voice echoing with an unrecognizable tone. Panic surged within her, a visceral response thrumming in her chest. What truth? Clara's mind raced, anxiety wrapping her like a vice. Her grip tightened on the mirror. It had to protect her, right? Clara, we can't stay here. The stranger's insistence broke through her shock, and she staggered back toward him, fear spiking with each passing moment. The figure stepped closer, a malicious grin spreading across his face. Oh, you can stay or go. The choice has always been yours. But Clara felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, as the reality of the moment split open like a wound. She had chosen. Now the repercussions awaited. What awaited her in the shadows? Would she embrace the chaos or flee from it, knowing the truth may bind or break her? As the darkness closed in, Clara faced the unknown, the mirror still clutched in her trembling hands. Would she uncover her destiny or risk everything in a desperate leap of faith? The answer hung in the night air, electric and alive, just as the posturing figure moved closer. The figure loomed before them, an unsettling blend of familiarity and nightmare. Clara's mind raced. Was this a friend or a foe? The stranger beside her shifted, positioning himself as a barrier between her and the figure, muscles taut and ready to spring. Who are you? Clara called out, her voice trembling as she tightened her grip on the mirror. The figure's grin widened, revealing sharp teeth that glinted under the dim alley lights. You already know me, Clara. I'm the last thread of your past that you've tried so hard to ignore. Panic swelled. Memories surfaced, ghostly images that made her heart thud painfully against her ribs. Faces of people long gone, shadows of laughter that turned to sorrow. No, it can't be. The stranger beside her took a deep breath and stepped forward, his posture challenging. Get away from her. The figure chuckled, the sound low and unsettling, like gravel crunching underfoot. Ah, the gallant rescuer. Sweet, really. But Clara has a destiny woven from secrets and lies, and you're just a detour in her path. Back off. The stranger shouted, but Clara's heart ached for answers. Tell me. Clara exclaimed, her voice barely more than a whisper. What do you want from me? With calculated slowness, the figure gestured toward the mirror she clutched. It's a conduit, Clara, not just a reflection. It reveals truths that have been buried deep. Are you ready to see? The air thickened, pressure building as visions flickered in the mirror's depths, shadows of her past, half-formed whispers of things she'd rather forget. The colors swirled, emotions leaping violently, and she felt herself drawn into their pull, torn between dread and curiosity. Clara. The urgency in the stranger's voice was a lifeline. Don't look into it. But it was too late. She felt the mirror's energy dance on her skin, the threads of her fate tangling before her very eyes. Figures emerged, lost friends, missed opportunities, choices unmade. The air around her crackled, and time felt suspended. Let it wash over you, the figure crooned, stepping closer. You need to understand what you possess to truly wield it. Stop. The stranger lunged, but the figure waved a hand dismissively. Shadows rose, swirling around him like mist. You can't save her from the truth. The visions intensified, slashing through Clara's carefully constructed barriers. She gasped as images burned into her mind, a childhood home filled with laughter, fractured moments of joy twisted by betrayal. Distant screams echoed, ghosts of worry and sadness. Embrace it, join me. Together we can unlock its power. The figure beckoned, his eyes gleaming bright with malevolence. No! Clara cried, pulling away. But it felt like chains were wrapping around her limbs, binding her to the moment. The mirror pulsed with energy, a siren call mixed with the desperation of her heart. Then, with a surge of instinct, Clara turned the mirror away from herself, facing it at the figure. I want to be your pawn. A collective gasp echoed against the alley walls, and the figure's expression faltered. No! You fool! He shouted, rage curdling the air as darkness slipped like oil over his skin. He lunged, but the stranger interposed, grabbing Clara's arm and pulling her to safety. They stumbled back, scrambling away as the figure dissolved into the shadows from which he emerged, his curses lingering like smoke in the night air. Breathless, Clara faced her rescuer. What was that? Who was he? The stranger's jaw tightened, eyes wide with urgency. We need to go, now. You don't understand how dangerous he is. He's just the beginning. Clara's heart hammered in her chest. Dangerous? But why? What am I supposed to do with this mirror? More than you know, but first we must escape. There was no time for hesitation. The alley whispered danger, and echoes of the bar's chaos drifted toward them. Where do we go? Clara asked, disoriented. Follow me, but be ready. The search has only just begun. With that, they plunged deeper into the murky recesses of the city, the mirror still clutched tightly in her hands. As they emerged onto a hidden street, Clara couldn't shake the feeling of eyes watching them. Her heart sank. What did the mirror truly hold? And as they fled further into the darkness, who was hunting her now? Secrets loomed ahead, and with each step, she felt closer to unraveling the truth. But would she be ready, or was she stepping into a deeper trap? The night held its breath as they disappeared into the unfolding darkness, the hunt far from over. The shadows swallowed them as they dashed around the corner, Clara's breath hitching in her throat. The city that pulsed alive with night was suddenly a maze of danger. She could feel the thumping rhythm of her heart matched only by the distant beat of jazz echoing from a nearby bar, but any sense of comfort was lost in the clamor of uncertainty. Stay close. The stranger urged, his voice tinged with urgency. Who are you? Clara pressed, adrenaline spiking. Why do you know so much about me? Names don't matter now. Just know I'm here to help, he said sharply, glancing back over his shoulder. The glow of streetlights fell over his furrowed brows, highlighting the tension etched into his features. But we need to keep moving. Help? Clara echoed, the word ringing hollow. I don't even know if I can trust you. Trust is a luxury we can't afford, he replied, tightening his grip on her arm. That mirror isn't just a reflection. It's a target, a beacon drawing him to you. A lump formed in her throat. Who is he? The stranger hesitated, shadows shifting in his eyes. A collector of souls, and the mirror is your connection to him. If he gets what he wants, he won't stop until he unravels everything you thought you knew. They rounded another corner, the hum of life in the city fading as they turned into a darkened alley. Clara's mind raced. What was hidden in her past that could draw such danger? Faceless memories danced just out of reach, tantalizing yet terrifying. Keep the mirror safe, whatever you do, he instructed, his voice a tense whisper. It's not only your past but your future. His powers depend on that connection. That's insane. Clara protested, anger bubbling up. I just want to live my life. And you will, if we can survive this night. He stopped abruptly, his posture tense. Listen. She froze, senses heightened. Silence fell around them, broken only by the muted sound of footsteps echoing against the cobblestones. Clara's heart raced as she strained to see through the shroud of darkness. Is it him? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. It could be anyone. He edged closer, scanning the shadows, and in that moment, a stray cat darted across their path, breaking the stillness. Clara jumped, and the stranger cursed under his breath. Relax, he said, but it was clear he was anything but calm. We need to find shelter. The longer we stay out in the open, suddenly, a burst of light flooded the alley. Clara squinted, shielding her eyes. Figures emerged, their silhouettes sharp against the light, their expressions obscured. There they are. A voice shouted, echoing sharply off the walls. They know. Clara gasped, the realization crashing over her. The danger was real. They were being hunted. Run. The stranger barked, yanking her forward. They sprinted deeper into the maze of the city, heartbeats synchronizing in panic. Clara's mind spun with questions. How far could they run? Where could they hide? And what secrets did that cursed mirror still hold? Frantic whispers of dread tumbled through her thoughts. As they turned another corner, Clara caught a glimpse of something in the periphery, the reflection of two eyes filled with malice, watching them from the darkness. Don't look. He instructed with urgency. The urgency thickened as they darted into a narrow alley enclosed by towering brick walls. Just ahead, a door loomed, partially ajar. It beckoned like a final refuge from the encroaching shadow. Inside now. They shoved through the door, the stranger slamming it shut behind them. Clara gasped, hands trembling as she faced him. What now? Panting, he stepped back and surveyed the dimly lit room. Now we wait, and prepare to face him. But Clara felt the weight of the mirror against her chest, the very object that had dragged her into this madness. What if facing him meant confronting her past, the secrets that had remained buried? And as she huddled in the fragile silence, she realized the hunt was far from over. It had only just begun. But could she uncover the hidden power of the mirror and harness it, before it was too late? The walls trembled with their unspoken truths, and Clara sensed the relentless pull of fate, tightening around her like a snare. Would she be brave enough to confront the ghost of her past? The room was suffocatingly quiet, the only sound their hurried breaths. Clara pressed against the door, feeling the rough wood digging into her back. The stranger's eyes darted around the dim space that smelled of mildew and something metallic, a hint of blood lurking beneath. Do you think they saw us? She whispered, heart pounding like a war drum. Not yet, he replied, his voice strained. But they will. We need to be ready. Ready for what? She felt a surge of panic rise inside her. You keep saying he and them. Who are we really up against? Questions later, he snapped, cutting her off. His eyes burned with intensity. Now, grab that. He pointed to a wooden crate in the corner, half hidden by shadows. Clara rushed over and pried it open. Inside lay a heavy crowbar, glinting menacingly in the weak light. Come on, he urged, snatching it from her hands. We might need it. Need it for what? To fight off ghosts? Clara shook her head, frustration boiling over. Stop treating me like I'm some passive damsel. This is my life being targeted. The stranger froze, his gaze piercing through the dimness, as if weighing her words. You don't understand. This isn't a fairy tale. Whatever that collector wants will either make you or break you. Instinctively, Clara reached for the mirror nestled close to her heart, the cool glass reminding her of the perilous truth her own history might reveal. What is he after? Never trust a collector, he said, voice lowering. They twist desires into nightmares. Tell me. Clara pressed, losing the thread of patience she tried to maintain. What would he want with me? A noise jolted them, the sound of something scraping against the door. Clara felt the floor give way under her adrenaline, her breath catching as the panic surged again. The stranger grabbed her wrist, eyes wide. Stay quiet. If they breached the door, he shook his head, grim determination spreading across his features. A shadow loomed behind the door, the faint outlines of figures gathering outside. They murmured to each other, their voices muffled yet menacing, like a pack of wolves sizing up their prey. I can't just sit here, Clara whispered, her heart racing. I need to get out there, to know what they want. Do you think charging out there will help? He hissed, eyes blazing. You have no idea who they are. But Clara felt an insatiable need to act. She glanced at the mirror, the surface shimmering with an otherworldly light spilling from the cracks. It felt alive, pulsing with her fear and fury. What are you keeping from me? She demanded, stepping toward him. I need answers. Clara, please. You don't want to do this now, he urged, his voice trembling. No, you don't get to decide for me. Suddenly, the door rattled violently, wood splintering from a collective force. Clara's heart raced as she felt the power in the air crackle like electricity. Help me move the crate. She shouted, pushing past him. Together they shoved it against the door, bracing for whatever would come next. The thudding against the door grew stronger. Then, Clara caught sight of the glass surface of the mirror, and it shifted accidentally as she pushed. In that instant, she saw a figure shrouded in shadow, a glimmering glimpse of the past that beckoned her closer. You need to look at it. The stranger shouted, urgency in every word. It's the key to your future. She felt a pull, the fragments of her past swirling around her, and for a fleeting moment, she understood her destiny was intertwined with the reflection. Clara turned, breath hitching in her throat. What am I supposed to do with it? Just then, the door burst open, and darkness flooded the room as a chilling voice echoed in the shadows. Ah, there you are, Clara. I'd been waiting. Terror gripped her, and she realized the fight for her life was about to begin. Would the mirror betray her, or could it provide the very strength she needed to confront the looming threat? As the figure stepped into the light, Clara's breath caught in her throat, her heart pounding louder than ever. She was about to face her greatest nightmare and possibly discover herself in the process. But could she harness the power of the mirror and confront him, or would the past bury her beneath the weight of secrets she wasn't ready to face? Clara's eyes widened as the figure stepped fully into the light, revealing sharp, angular features twisted by a sadistic smile. Dressed in a tailored suit, he radiated an unsettling charm that sent chills skittering down her spine. Who are you? She managed to choke out, her voice trembling. The stranger beside her tightened his grip on the crowbar, defending not only Clara but holding a fragile line between survival and doom. I am the collector, he proclaimed, his voice smooth as glass but imbued with a threatening undertone. And you, dear Clara, have something. I want something invaluable. But I don't have anything. She protested, desperation bubbling in her chest. I'm nobody. Oh, but that's where you're wrong, he replied, taking a leisurely step forward, his dark eyes gleaming with a predatory light. You're the key to unlocking a power that has been buried for far too long. A power linked to the very mirror you clutch. The room seemed to pulse with energy. Clara felt her heart hammer against her ribcage, thumping louder as she instinctively clutched the mirror closer. You can't have it. She shouted defiantly, though her voice trembled. She fought against the rising tide of fear, trying to project strength she did not feel. The collector chuckled softly, an unsettling sound that wrapped around them like fog. You're amusing, girl. But believe me, no one leaves here without paying their debt. Not even you. Not even with your whispers of freedom. The stranger beside her shifted uncomfortably, the crowbar flickering nervously in his grip. We won't give you anything. He yelled, the challenge hanging heavy in the air. Oh, but I think you might, the collector replied, tilting his head as if considering a new strategy. You'll discover that it's often the ones who fight that reveal their true strengths and weaknesses. Clara's heart felt heavy in her chest, confusion mixing with horror. She glanced at the mirror, and for an instant, she saw flashes moments of laughter, pain, and loss. There, reflected in the glass, were memories that weren't entirely hers but filled with a sense of familiarity. The mirror was alive with echoes, and the more she stared, the more they wrapped around her, swirling with a bittersweet kind of longing. "Stop!" she cried out, tearing her gaze away from its compelling pull. "You can't use it to hurt me." The collector's eyes darkened. "Oh, sweet Clara. I promise you, I don't need to hurt you, I just need you to see." Suddenly, the crowbar whizzed through the air as the stranger lunged forward, aiming for the collector. "No!" Clara screamed as time slowed, the air thick with tension. The collector dodged the swing effortlessly, a sly grin creeping across his face as he sidestepped the blow. He raised a hand, fingers snapping with a sharp crack. At once, the shadows began to morph. Figures emerged, dark and twisted, from the cracks in the walls, each cloaked in a silence that screamed power. Clara felt the chill rush of panic clawing at her chest, the fear of being outnumbered sending her heart racing once more. The stranger by her side faltered, eyes widening in realization. "Clara, we need to get out of here." But Clara felt frozen, the mirror's power beckoning her, a beacon of forgotten truth. The voices from within the glass hissed like wind through autumn leaves, a mix of her own ties to the past and the urge to confront her demons. "What do I do?" she gasped, anxiety spiking. Her greatest nightmare was unfolding before her, shadows marching towards her with hungry eyes. "Look into the mirror," the stranger urged, his determination igniting a flicker of fire inside her. "It's more than just a reflection, it holds your answers. Trust it." With her fate hanging in the balance and the chill of darkness swallowing the room, Clara took a deep breath and stepped toward the shimmering glass, the anticipation coiling tightly in her gut. But as she lowered herself to meet the reflection, she realized the question loomed larger than before. Would the mirror reveal her salvation or just more of her terrifying past? The shadows closed in around them as her fingers brushed against the surface, and the room erupted in panic. It was now or never. One last decision could change everything. Could she face what lay hidden in that reflection, or would the eager hands of the collector seize the moment and pull her deeper into their abyss? Clara felt the crackle of energy coursing through her as she confronted the mirror. In that suspended moment, she saw more than just her reflection. She saw pieces of herself she had long buried. Each glimmer revealed fragments of her life, choices unmade, betrayals that coiled around her heart like barbed wire. The collector stepped closer, shadowy figures at his side, hungry and eager. "Embrace what you truly are," he taunted, his voice a silken whisper laced with menace. "Let us unveil your potential." The air thickened with anticipation, pressing against Clara like an invisible weight. "No." The defiance spilled from her lips as she summoned every ounce of strength. The fear clawing at her heart mobilized her courage. She understood now, the mirror wasn't just a tool for him to wield. It was a conduit for her own power, her voice, her past, her freedom. "I want to let you take anything from me." "Then show me," he hissed, and suddenly the shadows surged forward, ready to consume that eye and the glint of the mirror. Clara saw her fears embodied ghosts of doubt, shadows of insecurity. But then, intertwined with her pain, there emerged glowing strands of hope, strength, and resilience. Memories resurfaced, her grandmother's laughter, the warmth of friendship, every moment of courage she had mustered on her own. With a cry, Clara plunged forward, arms outstretched, the mirror held high. "I am more than a pawn. I choose my fate." As she found her voice, the surface of the mirror shimmered, a radiating energy emitting from it, relaying powerful truths back into the room. The shadows hesitated, wavering before her. Clara could feel the momentum shifting, the tide turning. With a sudden surge, she commanded the energy from the mirror, focusing on the memories of joy and strength that pulsed within her. "You have no power here," she shouted, launching the shimmering light at the figures. The energy exploded outward, lighting the room with warmth and clarity, illuminating every crevice where darkness dared to encroach. The shadows shrieked, twisting into wisps of smoke, dissolving under the brilliance of Clara's newfound strength. The collector recoiled, his confident smile faltering. What is this? I am reclaiming my past, and you can't dictate my future. Clara shouted, and with every pulse of her heartbeat, every flicker of her memory, the shimmering energy enveloped the room. As the remaining shadows melted away, the collector fell back, surprise etched into his features. No. You were meant to be mine. He roared, his voice cracking. Not anymore. Clara exclaimed, the mirror now glowing like a sun, bathing her in light. She sensed the culmination of everything, her pain, her hope, all of it converging at once, powering her resolve. The shadows shrank back, defeated. With a final roar, the collector vanished, consumed by the light, his malevolent grasp on Clara's fate severed. Silence enveloped the room, a profound calm settling over her as she shifted her gaze to the stranger. His eyes were filled with awe, disbelief palpable on his face. Didn't he think it was possible? Clara managed a shaky breath, relief flooding through her veins as she brushed her fingers across the mirror's smooth surface. It was always within me. I just had to find it. As they emerged from the dim room, tears pricked at Clara's eyes. The dangers had morphed into shadows of the past, defeated but not forgotten. She felt lighter now, the burden of fear slowly fading. Thank you for believing in me, she said softly, looking at the stranger. I wouldn't have made it without you. He smiled, a mixture of pride and respect in his eyes. You fought your own battles, Clara. You claimed your truth. The night felt different, filled with promise. They stepped out into the fresh air, the city alive with vibrant energy once more. The weight of secrecy no longer clung to her like a cloak. Instead, she felt ready to face whatever tomorrow might bring. That moment, she knew she was not just a survivor, she was a warrior. The past didn't define her, it shaped her, chilled her, but ultimately empowered her. And they walked side by side, leaving the echoes of the night behind them, ready to embrace whatever came next. As dawn broke over the horizon, Clara felt the thrill of infinite possibilities open before her, a new chapter waiting to unfold. But before this journey ends, you have to make a final move. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on these exclusive stories that ignite the imagination. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Show that you want more thrilling tales. Flood the comments with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about Clara's incredible journey. This is your chance to connect. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with 5 friends who need to see how this journey unfolds. Join me, and let your voice echo in this amazing community.